All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of 100 Ways to Make 100K, the show where we're on the hunt to find 100 different ways to make 100 grand a month. And in this episode, I can't wait to introduce you to a very, very special entrepreneur. Now, we're downtown Toronto, but he's originally from Australia, ran out of his visa, but he essentially had to move his business from one country to another and still made it fly. And now they're sitting around, 120-ish employees? I can't wait to introduce you to none other than Eddie Obeliunas.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Dude, thank you. You know, it's an honor. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for being here and being so gracious to share your story, right? Like you go through this lifetime of lessons and, you know, I feel like me and the guests and the audience are so lucky to hear it directly from the horse's mouth. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your background and a little bit about Exactus, what you guys are doing now, and then we'll dive into the story a little later.
Yeah, sure. I grew up in Australia, obviously. You can hear that straight away. I went to school.
I thought that was Newfoundland, bro. I couldn't tell.
Not far off, eh? Yeah, we just don't kiss the fish. Grew up in Australia, did engineering and business school down there, and then had the travel bug pretty bad. So, did a fair bit of traveling. Had two really good friends in Toronto from random parts of the world.
Yeah.
They said, come over here, try it out. I was in a water engineering. We were digging trenches, laying pipe for like miles and miles and miles. And I was doing that months on end.
Well, where were you doing that? Was that in Australia or were you doing that in like different countries and stuff?
No, that was in Australia. That was like my first engineering job.
Okay. There you go. I studied to be a water engineer and boom, just like that, you're digging holes and laying pipes.
Yeah. Well, civil engineering's pretty broad, so
Yeah.
I didn't want to be doing water for the rest of I definitely didn't want to be laying pipe for miles for the rest of my life.
I mean, not a bad gig, you know? Like, it's
So
not that type of podcast, but it's
So I thought, let's mix this up a bit. Canada looked good.
now
Pretty easy to get a visa for an Australian.
Okay.
When you're under 31, there's like a
special program.
work holiday visa it was called. So
Got it.
applied for that, had two friends already here, like I said.
And were those friends from Australia originally? Did you meet them while traveling? Where did these?
Yeah, one was an Australian guy that I grew up with.
Okay.
And another guy was Lithuanian guy who
Oh, wow.
I studied abroad in Lithuania and used to live with him.
Wow. Okay.
He moved to Canada and then, yeah, I'm Lithuanian by background, so that's
Okay.
Obeliunas, the name. But
Got it.
they were here and jumped in. Ontario had a really good solar program at the time.
Okay.
It's one of the best in North America after California.
So you said, I'm done laying pipe. I'm going to lay solar now.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. So I came over, tried to get into solar or wind, and got a job with a solar company and
Nice. So
did that for about a year.
what were you doing at this solar company? Were you just like laying and installing solar panels, for example, or?
I was doing like project design work, so mostly AutoCAD designs, and then
Wow.
part of that we were doing site surveys.
Okay.
So I was out on the roof measuring out the roofs, see how many panels you can fit up there. The obstruction heights on roofs like chimneys and vents are like really important in solar because they cast the shadow, so you don't want to put the panels where the shadow is going to be.
Okay.
So detailed roof surveys was what I was doing, and then I realized no one in the office wanted to go out on the roofs and do these surveys, but I loved it because I was like, you get out of the office,
Yeah.
sun's shining, no one's telling you what to do, you're just out there working, thinking, but not just sitting in front of a computer all day. So then the other guys in the office were like, hey, you want to do the survey for me? I got this job down in Windsor, I don't want to go down there. I'm like, sure, whole day, even overnight down in Windsor, see new part of the country, like everything's new for me, right? So I'm going all around Ontario, just seeing random small towns and surveying, and then we started selling that as a service to the clients.
So let me ask, hold on. When you say we started selling that as a service, is this you and like your roommates as like a side hustle? Is this the current company that you're working with? What do you mean you're starting to sell these on the side?
Yeah, so I work for a racking company. Racking is what supports the solar panel on the roof.
Oh, okay. So like the thing that actually holds
you don't just put a solar panel
No, on the
On the
roof.
roof, you know.
Okay.
So you got to have like some sort of structure there, which is the racking, which bolts into the roof or
Okay.
whatever, and then you put the panel on that. So
Okay.
we were a racking manufacturer that I was working for.
Oh, so this was the original company, the solar company that you were
Yeah.
working for was actually a racking company.
Solar racking.
Okay,
So
solar racking. Okay.
we,
Very niche. So you said you told your parents like I'm moving to Canada, I'm working for the solar racking company.
well, I didn't
They're
have a
like,
job before I came. I just came,
Oh.
crashed on my buddy's couch for like 3
Okay.
months and like partied and,
Yeah.
you know,
Living the fast
then
life.
I was like, ran out of money. I was like, I got to get a job. And then
Okay.
we, was lucky enough to get in. Well, the idea was to get into solar, got into it,
You got into solar racking.
got into racking. That gave me opened the door to solar. So.
Yeah. So now when you're doing like these site surveys and you start selling this, is this for the racking company or is this for?
Yeah. So, you know, you get a solar developer
Okay.
and they need to know how big the roof is.
Okay.
They need to know how many, you know, modules they can fit up on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
All these types of things. So then if they didn't know that, they would say, hey, can you do a roof survey for us? So then our company would then go and do the roof survey, offer that as a service in addition to the racking purchase. So
okay. Now were you like, so I guess like at this point, they didn't offer this service, the site surveys before until you started doing it, right?
I don't know. I think they were doing it a little bit.
Okay.
I think mostly no one in the office liked doing it.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, I love this stuff. So
Yeah.
let's do it. And then I got to a point where I wasn't making very much money.
Mm-hmm.
I had a good time in Toronto. I had 6 months left on my visa. I was like, all right, like I'm not going back to Australia to do water engineering.
You didn't want to.
So-
You're done laying pipe.
So I was like, yeah, I was done with that.
Yeah.
So then I said, like this surveying as a service could be a thing. So I tried to start my own company.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not Canadian. So the rules in Canada, you have to be 50% Canadian owned to open a Canadian company. So I was like, oh man, I need to find a buddy. So I had a buddy who just graduated engineering, Jags. Called him up, said, hey, I've got this business idea, roof surveys for solar. He literally said, yep, I'm in. He came over like half an hour.
Yeah.
Came over. We like Googled it, registered it at Ontario Corporation. Done.
So that's a perfect partnership right there. You know, one partner has an idea, the other partner has the other things that they need. You know, you need 50% of Canadian and boom, you met the criteria, party time.
That's it.
And just like that, 120 employees, or was there some stuff that happened along the way?
Yeah, well, that was nine and a half years ago.
So summarize quickly, just so that the audience gets kind of like a preview. You know, what does Exactus Energy do in today's form?
Yeah, so Exactus provides professional services for solar projects. So we still do roof surveys.
Okay.
That was the original.
That's the original.
But we're mostly engineers. So we do structural engineering, electrical engineering, design work.
No pipe laying though.
No, not at all.
All right. So now you guys, oh, go ahead, sir.
And then site surveys are part of it as well. So, and we do that not just for commercial buildings, it's residential or utility scale solar. We don't discriminate. We do solar of all sizes.
What's utility scale solar?
Utility scale solar is like
a farm.
A solar farm that you see in the field.
Okay.
Whereas
commercials, like an acre of like solar that we need to cover, for example.
Or like 600 acres.
Pardon?
Yeah, like 600, 700 acres.
Is that the most that you think you've done in like one project, would you say? I guess, or like one field, because one person probably has acres and acres, or one company would have like...
Acres aren't the best way to describe it, I guess. It's more like megawatts, which is how many solar panels you can fit in the field.
Okay.
You know, you got 600 acres, but 100 of them there's trees, so you can't put, or there's river or a lake or something there. So it still counts as part of the acreage. But.
Okay, well, hey, if you know someone that's got a lot of acres, I know a guy that does some solar panel stuff. So if you need a site survey, I got your guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so that's it. So and then we do that for rooftops too. So commercial rooftops, schools, factories, warehouses.
Cool.
That's commercial, and then residential's residential.
All right, so it didn't start as that though. It just started as you needed a Canadian person to register this business. So then what happens, right? What year is this that you...
It's 2015.
2015. Yeah. So you graduated from, in Australia, you're laying pipe. You say, screw it, I'm going to Canada. You party for a bunch of months. You become this expert site survey volunteer guy who wants to go see all the rooftops in Canada because you're new here. You're like, okay, let me see what's up. And now you start this company. And how do you even know how to do that? Like, I get it. You could Google how to register a business, but a lot of people just register it. Then they look at their online page and say, yeah, I got a business. And then they're like, I don't know what to do next.
To be honest, like you don't really know what to do.
Yeah.
And like I got a business management degree.
Okay.
But that's all like in the books, you know? So
yeah.
what you learn in the books is one thing. What happens in real life is another thing. So
yeah, too easy.
I think, not easy to get started, at all. But you sort of just got to have that leap of faith. And
okay.
My business partner, Matt, is like a yes person. So he was like, let's just do it. Let's figure it out. And,
nice.
That's what engineers sort of do. You just figure it out. So I knew I wanted to work for myself at some point.
Okay.
My dad, worked for himself and was like pretty independent. And his whole mentality was like, if you're going to work hard, why are you going to work hard for somebody else? So me and my sister just grew up with that mentality. It's like, well, work hard, but do it for yourself. Cause
why not?
You would get all the benefit. And, a lot of people don't want the struggle and the pains and the stresses of that, but I don't mind that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, pick your pain, pick your struggle, pick your stress, right? Like, you're going to struggle in something, you're going to have stress in something regardless. You may as well make it the highest value thing, that you could do. So
at least you're picking your own destiny and controlling it,
100%, So now, how do you start growing this thing? Because are you still working at the thing? I thought your visa was expiring. Dude, what's going on?
That was like May 2015.
Okay.
Jag just graduated engineering, so he was free.
Yeah.
He was doing a tutoring business on his own, so he's already like sort of business sort of guy.
Just like your business friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just a yes guy, smart guy, engineer. And then we started the company. I was still working at the racking company and trying to figure out, like, I got to pay rent. I got to live. Like, if I quit my job, we're not making any money with this new business.
Yeah.
So I was sort of telling Matt that. He's like, I knew his family quite well, and over the last 2 years of being in Canada. Mm-hmm. So his mum's like, oh, you come and live in our basement.
Okay.
So I went, moved out of my share house with my buddies, moved into Jag's parents' basement as like a 27-year-old.
Wow.
It's like I haven't lived with my own parents for like 9 years.
Oh,
now I'm living with someone else's parents and his brother. And
what a time, man. It probably brings back memories. I can see the smile on your face.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. But yeah, it's that's where we started the business.
Yeah.
He moved back in there too because we weren't making money. And then he's more the sales guy. So, and to be honest with you, like, if I would make calls, people would be like, they do this. If you could see them in real life, they sort of give you this look like what did he just say? Like, my accent is slowly fading down, but it was pretty thick back there. So he's like, I'll do the sales.
Yeah.
You do the technical stuff.
Okay.
And, that's probably more our natural roles anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he got on the phone. I had already like a bunch of companies I knew of in the industry. So we started literally the first 2 calls he made converted sales. He's like, you need a roof service? Like, yeah, I do. Bang. Like the next 500 calls, no. So we were like,
there's something about those first ones, especially if you get wins on the first ones, it's almost like addicting, right?
Big. And I think especially for like, he's making the call, like I'm telling him, what to say, what we do and stuff, but then he does the call and it was addicting. It's like, it's such an adrenaline rush. Like, oh my God, like this guy wants what we have.
Yeah. Because at first it's like an idea, right? You're like, okay, let's just call someone to see if like they take it. And then all of a sudden they take it and you're like, oh, shoot, like we actually have to do this thing now. And then you call another and they're like, yeah, we'll take it. And it's like, oh, like we're moving. Like this is real. Yeah.
Yeah, we were 2 for 2. And
yeah.
We were 2 for 502 after that.
Yeah,
but
that's okay. You will call it 2 for 2. It's 100% hit rate, That's cool.
Yeah. So we started doing those roof surveys. We didn't have any equipment. So we were renting this equipment, which is really expensive.
Yeah.
It's like $600 for 2 days for this like surveying stuff.
Survey machine.
So then we found like this used total station, it's called.
Is that's the survey machine?
It's a surveying, piece of equipment that super precise measurements. Just found that in a pawn shop in Toronto. I mean, in Hamilton.
A porn shop?
Yeah, P-A-W-N. And drove down there. The guy didn't even know what it was.
Yeah. Oh,
He's
wow.
like, give me like $900 for it or whatever. I think
Perfect.
Matt was like, yep, I'll give you 700. He's like, deal. So we've never used one of these things because different to the one we were renting. It's from like 1972, this one.
Wow.
We're like, all right, we got to figure this out. So we're like figuring this out.
Crazy.
Figured it out, got going with that. And then it was just hustling, you know, like just calling. And Matt was on the phone all the time. And then we started getting some jobs, and I'll be drafting it up and submitting it. And we're all doing this from his parents' basement. And then we figured out like drones were coming out like just
a couple years later.
Well, sort of 2016-ish, drones started coming out like at Best Buy and stuff like that, like just very novice sort of level drones.
Yeah.
We're like, and at the time we were only surveying commercial roofs. People were like measuring roofs with like a tape measure and a napkin and like
crazy.
And you just
like
so much
construction
error.
guys normally do,
So we're like, how do we make this work for residential roofs? Because residential roofs are all sloped usually, so it's really dangerous. And then you got to get this huge ladder up there and all this sort of stuff. So we found the drones, and you can just take photos of the roof, stitch it all together into a 3D model, and do all the measurements.
So why did you go from commercial to then start focusing on resi?
Residential jobs take like 2 hours, less than 2 hours to survey, 2 hours to design.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the volume was there. Like the commercial job, you get one, but then you don't get another one for another month.
Okay.
So residential jobs, at the time, there was good incentives in Ontario.
Okay.
So then we started talking to residential developers, and there's a couple of big ones doing like a few hundred jobs a month. And then we end up getting a contract with one of them.
Okay.
And then it's like you're doing like 3, 4, 5, 10 jobs a day.
Okay.
And then we started hiring field techs and drafters, and we converted Matt's parents' garage into a little office.
Oh, you guys got a new office? You guys upgraded?
Yeah, we went from the basement to the garage.
My bad, sir. Sorry.
Yeah.
Almost had a real address.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
That's great.
We had like 10, 12 people in there.
In the garage?
Yeah.
Oh my
man.
goodness.
People were catching the bus to like Mississauga or Etobicoke.
Yeah.
Walking down to this guy's parents' garage.
Yeah, literally. Probably in the suburbs, right? Like just a regular garage.
Yeah, literally right in the suburbs of Etobicoke.
Wow.
And like 4 or 5 of those people, most of those people are still with us now, 9 years later.
Really?
Like our 2 COOs still with us. They used to get the bus to the garage. And I was like, how did these people take a job working with these 2 guys in a garage?
These 2 random guys. One of them has an accent.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So
these guys bought a site survey from a pawn shop, and I'm out here working in their parents' garage. Isn't that crazy? Crazy how that works.
Yeah. And then it so we sort of got going that way, and then my visa was coming to an end.
Yeah. Wow.
Matt's parents have a holiday house.
How long? But wasn't your visa only lasting a couple more months, or was this now you got a new visa because you started a business? Like, how does that work?
It expired in like January 2016, I think.
Okay.
And so I was on like this bridging visa.
Okay.
At the time, you could get another 2-year work holiday visa, but I left it too late, so my visa expired before I got my next one.
So you're an illegal.
So no, it wasn't illegal. It was like
frowned upon. It's frowned upon. It's a gray area.
It's a bit of a gray area. I didn't fully understand it, to be honest. But you are like in this bridging phase, they call it.
Okay.
And Matt's parents are snowbirds, so they go to Florida every Christmas. And I was living with them.
Okay.
So I was part of the family at this point.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, we're going to Florida for Christmas. So we get in the van.
Oh, you went?
We're all like driving down to Florida because they drive.
Okay.
So they can they're there for like months, right?
Yeah.
We get to Buffalo.
And they're like, you ain't going nowhere.
The guy's like, where you going?
Yeah.
I'm going to Buffalo. I'm going to Florida for Christmas.
Nice
So you're not going nowhere. You're going back to Australia now because like you try to leave. This looks suspicious. It was the American guy. He's like, well, you don't have a visa in Canada. Now you're going to be my problem? No way. Send me back. I go back in the Canadian visa. They're like, you've got 10 days to leave. Otherwise, you're never coming back.
Dude,
like,
I wouldn't
red listing you.
You at the border, I wouldn't trust you, bro. I'd be like, this guy ain't no. You're gone. You're out of here.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So,
there's something with that white shirt, man. It's not.
Yeah, it's not exactly iron.
Back to Australia, you go, pal. Okay.
So literally.
Yeah.
We all drive back to Toronto. They're like, thanks, man. Like we only got 27 more hours to drive. You know.
Yeah.
They throw me out. I'm at home by myself.
Dude, at least they dropped you off, man. That's really nice of them.
Yeah. Well, they could have just kicked me out.
They could have. They said just walk back, bro.
And then so then literally like a week later I buy a ticket, had to
Wow.
fly home.
Wow.
So then,
and that must have been your first time seeing your parents in like ages.
yeah, 2 years. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. So I was home for like 3 months because I had to like wait for my paperwork to come in.
But
home being Australia.
Australia. And you're still working on this thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just
then
overseas.
yeah, 16-hour time difference.
Yeah. Not a big deal or anything.
No, Matt's like,
Yeah.
is this guy ever coming back? Like, we
Yeah.
started this business. Now he's
Now he's an
have a
illegal
visa.
immigrant. I started a business with a legal immigrant. What kind of document did I sign?
Oh,
dude?
man. And then I was just started dating my now wife at the time.
Okay.
So her mom's like, this guy, some illegal guy, like he can't get back in the country. So it was coming at all angles, but all's well that ends well.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, man. So would you say that was like the first time you made $100,000 in a year?
Definitely not.
No. Okay.
No. I think, we'd do one job. You'd maybe make $800 for a commercial job.
Okay.
And
So you're
when
rich.
we did a job, we always made a point to go to Sushi en Bloor and we'd get the $8 lunch special. And that was like our big treat for the month.
Wow. That was a celebration, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But it was a couple of years. So probably 2017 when we started ramping up those residential, high volume jobs.
Yeah.
We hired a few people, and that's at some point
When it started happening.
2017, 2018.
It's weird. You don't actually notice it until you like look back and you're like, oh shoot, like we just did this. That's crazy. Where did it all go?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then everything you make, you're putting back in the business anyway at that point.
Now you have to buy a real site survey machine, not $700 anymore.
Exactly. You had to buy drones. Had to get a proper car, not be turning up to site in 2001 Honda Civic.
What's wrong with the 2001 Civic, dude? Come on.
I just got rid of mine last year. Actually.
Yeah, okay. It's just a little old, That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm older than 2001. I'm still working, kind of. I wish I could change my knees out though, but it is what it is. That's crazy. So how did things like evolve? Who were some of the first key players that you brought on your team? What was it like going from just you and Jag, you said? Yeah, just you and Jag to now all of a sudden a team, right? You were originally the technical guy. He was originally the sales guy, but now your roles are probably starting to evolve as you bring people on board, right? What was that like?
Yeah. So we, a bunch of those people that we hired in the garage are still with us. So they're all, Dustin and Jamie are our COOs, and they're still running the whole show. They're overseeing everyone. Definitely a lot more technical than me now with what happens day to day. And then a couple of the other people in the garage are team leads running there. Laura's running the site survey team. Rob's running the commercial team. Yeah. Overseeing teams of like 10, 15 people each.
This is now. And when you say like commercial team, what did the commercial team look like when it first started? And what does it look like now?
The commercial team, when it first started, was Jag makes a phone call. We get the sale. Me and Jag go to the site. Okay. Survey the roof. Wow. Do all the measurements. We come back. Jag hits the phone again. I start doing all the CAD drafting, email, send it to the client, try and get another one. We were doing the surveys ourselves for first year or so.
Wow. And what was it? Do you remember the first time you had someone else do the survey?
Yeah. Well, it was a 2-man job with this old total station because you need someone pressing the buttons on the machine and you need someone
walking with
the pole, the stick, the reflector, I guess, holding it on the obstruction. So,
okay.
We hired someone, then we got our own equipment where you could do it like solo, and it's like all satellite based and you don't need 2 people. So you just start getting a bit smarter with like time and using the drones and not having to like walk around with your phone on this roof getting 1,000 photos. You just fly the drone and it does everything way better and
it's probably way quicker, way less risky, et cetera, et cetera. So that must have been really cool. I remember the first time that somebody edited a video for me. And like at first I was like, oh my gosh, no, like they can't. Like, how are they going to do this? Like, they can't edit my stuff. Like, how's that going to work? And then next thing you know, I go to sleep, I wake up and the thing's done.
It's nice feeling.
Like, this was the craziest thing. I'm never doing this again. What? And
you have your own ways of doing things. So that's tough. Like, when you train someone, they don't know everything yet, but then they're smart people. Yeah. And then they do it their own way and just letting go of like, oh, hang on a minute, that's not how I do it. Yeah. You can't grow if you're trying to micromanage someone. And that was a big lesson for me.
When did you learn that? And how?
Jag is really good at just like okay, you're running that, like you do it, and he'll let you do it.
Okay.
And he's saying to me, like, after a couple of years, he's like, man, you gotta let these people run, because like you're gonna send yourself mad.
Yeah.
And it took me a lot longer, to be fair, because I'm sort of particular with how I like things done.
Yeah. What were you like? What do you feel like it was that was the hardest to let go? You know, or it's probably been different stages, but like what were
initially it was like the design stuff and just
Mhm.
being like super particular with, you know, shading and how things look on the drawing. And then it was hiring, you know, because at the start we hired all the people in, and then you're like, I'm not going to work with this designer anymore. So like the person that's going to work with the designer should be hiring people that are compatible with them and make those decisions and own it, you know? So hiring was the next one. And then, you know, there's so many, you know, sales. Initially I had all the solar knowledge and Jag didn't. So like I was sort of telling him, you know, we got to say this, don't say this, and whatever. And that went really quick, because he was like, all right,
that was right from day one, pretty much, right?
Yeah. But after 6 months,
the second call, you had it down. Probably couldn't tell him anything after that. You're like,
well, that's right. He's like, I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then he, you know, so it's always delegation. If you want to grow, delegation is super important. And sometimes you got to just let it go. And people aren't
smart.
People aren't, you know, little kids, and they don't need their hand held for everything. You just give them the general concept, what you got to tell them what the result is, or the result that defines success, and let them get to that whatever way they can. And if they're having trouble, they can ask for help, but don't be in there like telling people how to, you know, suck eggs.
Is that an Australian saying?
Well, I don't know. If you've never heard it, then maybe it is.
Well, we heard it. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. So, what would you say like your role is now? You know, like what kind of hat are you wearing these days?
Officially CEO.
Okay.
Jag and I are co-CEOs, but
so you got two CEOs, you got two COOs.
Yeah. We like to share it around. You know.
Okay.
There's not a lot of big egos at Exactus. We're very team orientated and get it done, you know, whatever it takes. It's not like I gotta elevate myself to be above someone else.
Yeah, it's like, here's the mission, let's just get the thing done.
Yeah,
Who cares about the titles? So when did it start getting when did it get to that point where you're like, holy smokes, like we actually just like built this, like look at this is crazy?
Probably the first moment of that, when we had that sort of thought, was when we got our first real office, moved out of the garage. We got an office on Dundas West in Toronto.
Nice, man. Congrats.
And yeah, well, I think we had 10, 11 people in the garage at that point. So we were like, it was pushing it as it was.
Yeah.
Moving to this office, had that for like a year and a half.
Okay.
And then it got too small.
Really?
So we started with 10 or 12 in there, filled it up to like 18 or 20.
Okay.
There was one point where, you know, there was like 10, 12 guys in one room, just all around the walls on these computers. And they're like, it's so hot in here. Everyone's on top of each other. We're like, oh, we've got to get another office.
So what were all these different team members doing? So like when you had like 10 or 12, what were some of the hats that they were wearing? Because I'm sure now like you guys have 10x from that point, right? At 120, just downsized. What were, because like those people now they're probably like the heads of their departments, right? What were each of those departments that make the solar business relevant?
Mostly drafting and design work, so computer aided design.
Like the technical.
Yeah, drawing it up in CAD, like an engineering drawing.
Okay.
And field work, so going out in the field. Yep.
Measuring the thing.
Flying the drone.
Okay.
We started offering structural engineering, so you'd have to get in the attic of a house, check the rafters, size and spacing to determine the structural integrity of the roof.
Okay.
And then we did like electrical design, because your solar's electrical, right? So then you'd have to check the meter and the panel at the house.
Okay.
So you get all the photos and measurements of this stuff. That data gets uploaded into Dropbox, and then the designers go and design it on the computer, and then we submit it to the client.
Okay.
So yeah, it was CAD design work and field work, and then Jag was pretty much still doing sales by himself at that point.
Yeah.
Maybe had an assistant here and there. And I was sort of
overseeing the team quality assurance probably.
Yeah, a little bit of technical, like making sure we're hiring when we need to and growing, and then creating the goals and vision of where we want to be. So then we were doing a bit of commercial work still at that point. So there's only one or two of us. I was still heavily involved in that side of it, trying to get that going. Earlier on.
So back then, right? 12 people, still garage talk. You know, what was the goal and vision at that point? You know, actually, let's talk about two different stages. The first, I want to just talk about when it was you and Jag, like just trying to come up with the idea before the first two sales. What was the vision at that point? Stay in Canada. I just need my visa. I just trying to get paid. Like,
to be fair, I just want to start my own business and like work for myself. And I've been thinking about like hundreds of ideas. Like maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that. Back in the day, I originally wanted to, those universal electricity charging sockets. Like when you go to Europe, it's a different plug, or when you go to Australia, it's a different plug. Yeah. I was like, I'm just going to make like, instead of everyone carrying an adapter, I'm just going to make like a universal plug and sell it to like hotels, airports.
Okay.
It sounds dumb now because they're everywhere, but like 10, 15 years ago, I was doing all this travel, and like if you don't have the right adapter, then you can't charge your iPod, you can't charge your phone.
You're done for.
And then you got no battery, and you're just like sitting on the plane for 10 hours without any music or whatever. You're like, what? So I was like, I could do this. Anyway, that never came to fruition, but I was thinking about all these things.
You could have been a billionaire.
Still working on it.
Which interesting though, it's still power related.
Yeah, and I'm not even an electrical engineer. That was just the thing.
You were just a pipe layer at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right.
So
the vision was
we just wanted to start something and go for it.
But
because I felt like you're thinking about it too much, and you
time to do
wasn't doing it. It's like the rubber's got to hit the road somewhere. So let's go. I got 6 months on my visa. Let's just throw it all in there and see what happens.
Yeah.
And Jag, like I said, he was already doing his own sort of tutoring business, and he was sort of pretty entrepreneurial himself. So he was all in.
So now you got 12 people and you're in a garage and you're like, dude, we're busting out of the seams. You know, we got to do something. But now at first you were just trying to make $1. You were just trying to survive. You're just trying to do something that's your own, that you could control. Now all of a sudden you have teams, you have customers, you have all these things that are happening. You have different products that are popping up out of nowhere. All of a sudden you're like, oh, let's do residential. Let's try commercial. Let's do site service. Oh, let's add this electrical, right? Like let's add this structural engineering, right? So you have all these different legs that are starting to grow. What does the vision evolve to at that point in time?
We were just trying to keep growing with our clients' needs. Yeah. So we're working with a couple of big developers, solar developers in Ontario. And they were growing and selling like crazy, and we were just trying to scale up to keep meeting
their needs.
So we were trying to just get all their work.
Okay.
Doug Ford then got in Ontario in like 2018.
Yeah.
Politically, there was a big solar incentive program in Ontario from like 2009 to 2018, which was...
And they were paying like lifetime. I think they were paying like 25 years or something
20 years,
that.
Yeah. You get a 20-year feed-in tariff fee. And so, you buy electricity from the grid for like 13, 14 cents a kilowatt hour, but you'd sell it back to the grid for much more than that.
Yeah.
By the time it ended, it was only 25 cents, but still more than 13 cents. So you're making money.
Yeah.
And then that got scrapped. So we could see the Conservatives coming in. It seemed like it was going to happen like 6 to 9 months before.
Okay.
So we started looking at the US. And the US is great because it's a huge economy, and every state, it's like 50 different countries down there. So if one state doesn't have an incentive, another will.
Okay.
So then you focus on like the progressive solar states, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're close, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, all these states were awesome.
Now, did you just decide to look into the States? Because last time you tried to go there, they didn't let you in, right? So did you look back in Australia as well? Did you start looking in Europe, or was it just like, you know what, I like the States, let's just go there? Like, how did
the States was easy because it's so close.
Okay.
And we already had this sort of Canada and the US. It's not too dissimilar with like building codes and business culture, people, all this sort of stuff.
They don't understand your accent here. They still don't understand it there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So going to trade shows and that, like you can just duck down New York. It's an hour flight. It's really easy.
Quick. Too
US
easy.
dollars are better than Canadian dollars.
Too
So
easy. Yeah.
we didn't mind that either.
And it's the same sun, right? It's the same sun that you're collecting. You just collect more money in a different country than here.
Exactly.
So all of a sudden now the States becomes like, oh, this is like an actual thing.
Yeah. So we went to a few trade shows.
Okay. And that got it started.
Yeah. Well, we were already working with a couple of big residential developers here. So that we had the foundation. We went down there. One of the big developers was like, that's what we need.
Perfect.
Got the deal. Off to the races. So.
Okay. Now, how did you set up a deal? So you're getting paid or when you resell the electricity back to the grid, and now I'm guessing like you're partnering with these guys. So are they paying you up front? Is it like a profit sharing? Like what was that?
Yeah. So we don't.
Is this Jags like specialty? Or
we don't actually like have anything to do with like the selling of the electricity.
Okay.
Or the actual installation of the solar. We do everything prior to installation. So you own a house. I want to get solar. We need a site survey. We'll come do the site survey. Okay. We need a design. You don't want to design your solar panels under a big tree and they get no sun.
Okay.
It's stupid. So you want to optimize the panels on the roof, slopes, angles, shading, all that. We do that. We structurally assess it, which is required.
Okay.
Engineer stamps it. We electrically assess it. Engineer stamps it. Give that building permit package. You got to pick all your equipment, your panels, your inverters, all this sort of stuff, wires. We do all of that, give it back to the developer. Mm-hmm. They then go and procure the equipment and install it.
So you're almost like the architect.
Yeah.
In this world. Like you guys do all the design, do everything that you need from when you make the decision to install a solar panel to actually doing the installation. You do everything in between there.
Yep. And we don't actually sell to the homeowner or the building owner.
Okay.
The developers do the sale to the end consumer.
Oh.
We are B2B, so we just work with developers, solar developers.
Okay.
So they make the sale to the homeowner.
Yeah.
Or the school.
And it was B2B, and it was pretty much B2B from the jump because you just went straight to the racking companies that you're already working for.
Yep.
And say, hey, you guys need anybody to do the site surveys.
Exactly.
We'll do that, et cetera, et cetera. That's interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So B2B from the start. And just sort of grew it out from there in the US. Like once you get one, you start picking up the different details. It's a bit different to Canada. So snow loads and engineering code and all this sort of speak. We got smart people working for us, and so they figure it all out, and then you start offering another thing, and clients say, hey, why aren't you doing the electrical stuff? So then we started doing electrical stuff.
Wow.
And saying, well, why aren't you doing topographic surveys?
And you're like, oh, we do. Let's figure it out.
Well, Jags always says we do.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But and then so you're tacking on additional services here, and just keep growing it out. So we're trying to install as much solar every year as we can. Well, try to help our clients install as much solar every year as we can. And every year we're doing more than the last year. So that's sort of our ultimate goal at the end of the day.
That's cool, man. So as this legislation starts changing, right? Like all of a sudden now you're like what was that like? Because you talk about it like it's late, the legislation came, but dude, like
that hit us like a train, man.
Yeah.
Like, we
bro, imagine
the solar program starts. It was there, and then it's gone. One day it's just gone.
Yeah, and your whole business was built on that program pretty much, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was exclusive to Ontario. 100% of our work was in Ontario.
Wow.
So then we already started looking in the US. So we had that contract before the Ontario one ended. So it was already slowly building up. So we didn't have to lay anyone off.
Yeah.
Or anything like that.
Now, how did you know? Like, I remember, because a couple of minutes ago, you were mentioning okay, we started sensing that this was going to come 9 months down the line, et cetera, et cetera. How did you even know that was coming, and how did you know to start pivoting? Because you pivoted before you needed to.
Yeah. A lot of public opinion of the Liberals are done. They've had I think they were in for 10 years.
So pretty much how it is right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. Similar. Yeah. And it's they're spent too much and this and this, and then it just looked like conservatives were coming in. So we got to do something, because if we don't,
something's gonna change.
We're gonna be screwed. So
either got caught playing offense or caught playing defense. Your choice.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
interesting.
And it gutted the Ontario solar industry, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
so many of the guys we used to work with just don't exist anymore.
Really?
Which is a shame.
Yeah.
There's a lot of knowledge and a lot of skills that were built up over that time.
That just disappear.
Gone.
Wow. Interesting when you think about industries as a whole like that, where it's like, no, like we have the skill in our population. Like when you think about it from like a country standpoint and you're like, okay, we want our population to have these types of skills, these types of skills, these types of skills. So we could be, as a country kind of like prepared for certain things. And I think it's really cool when you put it from that perspective. It's like we had all this skill in the province that was built up and now we don't have any technical ability. And as we get to more of like a global economy, I think it's an interesting discussion around like what roles and what tasks actually stay in the country, what tasks keep getting shipped out, because at the end, if we don't use the muscles are going to atrophy, right? So if you don't use it, you lose it. I have one of my skiing friends. He said, man, he always wants to do the stairs, right? He's a big skier. He does double backflips. Shout out my guy, Brady. He's like, every time we go somewhere, he's like, let's take the stairs. And I'm like, bro, look how many bags I have, bro. I'm not trying to take
I'm
these
married
stairs.
to a physiotherapist. We take the stairs every time.
Everywhere. Yeah, he goes, God gave you legs, bro. If you don't use it,
that's
you
right.
lose it. Yeah, so it's wild. But man, what a thing to think about,
At the time, that was really scary.
Yeah.
So you just sort of get on with it. Otherwise, you're not going to just sit there and be like, oh, I guess we're done. We've put our blood, sweat, and tears into this for already like 3 years.
Yeah.
Got all these. Now we're responsible for like 20 people.
Yeah.
Jobs and, rent, mortgages, whatever they got.
Dude,
like,
yeah.
It's like you feel personally like,
dude, these are your families, bro.
Yeah.
Like you're paying, like you guys got to supply, opportunities for these guys, right? Like if all of a sudden the pipeline drives up, that's how 120 people that are eating this month.
That's right.
And that matters.
Yeah. So it was, in the end, it was a blessing because then you get this, you're forced to sort of do something else. And the US has been, like I said, it's a huge economy and probably, let's call it like 26 of the states are pretty progressive with solar. So there's a lot of work to go around down there.
Dude, they got states that are the size of our country, not physical size.
California is 40 million, yeah.
Right?
Bigger than Canada.
It's bigger than Canada as a country,
which
is wild when you think about it. Like Texas is similar. You know what I mean? Florida, I don't know what the Florida numbers are.
But big population
numbers. Like it's wild when you think about it. That's cool.
When you're out doing site surveys,
okay,
like geographic density is important because you can service a lot more properties with one guy as opposed to like, if you're servicing none of it
in rural Alberta, one person, for example.
He's got to travel like hundreds of kilometers.
All the territories just to find one extra building.
Yeah, exactly. So, you have these guys located throughout the US that do the field surveys for us. And, that's built up too.
So now you meet the Eddie that's in the garage, right? And he's got his little shop that's going on. And, he's like, man, how do I be more resilient? How do I fortify this business, so that way, just in case one thing changes, I'm not completely blown out of the water, right? Like a lot of people, for example, build their business based on an algorithm. An algorithm all of a sudden would change. And next thing you know, all the things that you're creating for that algorithm are no longer relevant. Right? It's another place that it happens. Or for example, you build up a restaurant and then COVID comes and all of a sudden people can't dine in anymore. Right? So like how would you suggest someone build their shop to be more resilient, And I guess it probably changes based on the context.
I think you have to have a mentality to like embrace change.
Okay.
And like from chaos or change comes the biggest opportunities. And like at the time when you're in it, it's really hard to see it because you don't know what's coming next. But if you can sort of get past the initial shock or change and then start looking for like, all right, this is going to be the new landscape for the opportunities in that landscape, I think that would be like advice I would give to my old self. It's like, just don't give up. Just look, you got to take a deep breath, have a look at reassess, and then look at, all right, this is what's changed. How can we use that to our advantage?
Huh. Interesting. Now, do you remember the first time you made $100,000 in a month?
I think we made 1.3 million of revenue, I think, like 2019.
Nice.
As a company of like, you know, however many we were.
Yeah.
So that's like averaging about 100K a month.
Give or take.
So
it's not bad. Sorry.
At the end of the year, when you're like, when you hit that million
yeah.
for the first time in your life, you're like,
wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
Now you're like, go? $1 million doesn't pay the bills now, but
yeah.
That was special. But like specifically making 100K in a month, I couldn't tell you exactly. But
yeah, you're probably working, dude.
yeah. And then is it 100K? You know, you got to make 100K to actually get 50K, you know, with tax and all the rest. So
it's wild. It's wild, man. Yeah, taxes are becoming like a real thing for me now. So like I'm like, oh, like okay, like oh, you want that much? Oh, why? you don't need that. Like, why do you need all that? And it's next thing you know, it's uncomfortable, you know. But that's really cool, man. So this was 2019, you said?
It would have been around 2019 when.
So the model, right? It sounds like fee for service. So a new job, new contract, new build, new contract, right? Like, is there a recurring kind of aspect to the clients that you get? Like, if you could get one client, how do they stay forever, for example?
Yeah, so we work with the solar developers. So usually the developers are in two pots. So there's like, or three pots. There's like residential developers. So they focus on selling to a homeowner is very different to selling to like a school board.
And this is the company that makes the actual solar panels.
No, these are
like real estate developers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they develop solar projects. So they're looking, you know, for clients, like homeowners that want solar. They're advertising sales to residential homeowners or to like Walmarts or Home Depots or school boards or, you know, commercial type properties. So
yeah.
I've lost my train of thought.
We were talking about the relationship with like fee for service, developing like developers, who these developers are, like, et cetera. Like, how does your relationship with the customer work on like an ongoing basis?
Yeah, so the solar developers have this pipeline of sales that they're building up.
Okay.
So for us, we'll sign like a 2-year contract with a solar developer to do all their site visits, all their engineering, and all their permit packages.
And that would be at like X rate, for example.
Yeah, so if they do 500 jobs a month, they get this rate. If they do 1,000 jobs a month, they get a better price for volume. So we incentivize it for high volume to get more work. And then, you know, we have minimums requirements so that, you know, they can't give us 500 one month and 3 the next month.
And so they have to just pay a base if it's that.
Yeah, exactly. So for the residential ones, they have it's a high volume sort of fast turnaround game. And then commercial clients, it's a little bit different because
larger work, slower sales cycle.
Exactly. And every building is like so different.
Yeah.
Most houses, they have like a meter, an electric panel that's almost all the same, and the roof
relatively
the same for most houses.
Yeah. It's either a slope roof or a flat roof.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Mostly sloped for most of the jobs we do. But commercial, you know, it's different. Like you're doing a refrigeration building and it's like,
it has friggin' AC boxes all over the place. The mechanicals are crazy, et cetera, et cetera.
And it's insulated and it's heavier, or, you know, all just such a variety. So then that's more case by case quoting. So
got it.
We build a lot of proposals in a month now and send out to all those clients.
Really?
They all want different things too.
Yeah.
Some just want a roof survey, some want just electrical, some want everything. So.
Yeah. What percentage of, so like you got these different kind of like products, right? Or different services. There's the, I guess like the full package. There's just the electrical, there's just the structural. For example, what percentage of business would you say is like in each category? And like, I'm not expecting you to recite the numbers, but like, just like on average, what are you guys busiest with? What are you less like? What's the hot ticket item? You know, like what's the thing?
Yeah, I guess from a higher level, 70% of our revenue last year was residential.
Okay.
And 30% was commercial.
Okay.
But the year before it was like 85-15. So
85 resi, 15 commercial.
Yeah, so our commercial team's really coming up strong.
Cool.
So that's the hot item at the moment. We're really focusing on building our commercial services.
Yeah.
The thing that we're seeing with residential in the solar industry right now is interest rates are just crushing it, like crushing
Everything.
us, crushing sales. Homeowners don't want to spend money anymore. They're being more, conservative with their disposable income, and no one's, sales have gone way, way down on the residential side. So that's gone down, I guess. As a service, like structural engineering is like probably our most profitable team. Probably closely followed by electrical engineering. So
interesting.
The engineering professional services, there's a higher barrier to entry, and then it's a niche. Solar's hasn't been around like for 50 or 100 years, like
it's new.
Automakers or gas and oil. It's like, it's pretty new. It's like 20 years or younger. So there's still a lack of skills and knowledge. And so people are, paying for that, which is great for us.
Interesting. And when you say the lack of skills and knowledge, it's kind of like a premium on your guys' service because there's so little people that kind of like serve this industry, for example?
Yeah, or you're dealing with like some huge engineering firm that, they're just slow, and it's like a bit of an old boys club. Like at Exactus, we like to say our slogan's new age engineering. We do things quickly. We use drones and other tech.
The engineer of the future.
Yeah. We're working on renewables, which is sort of new too. We just try to, do things a bit more fun, bit more fast, and just a little bit different to like what you find in a traditional engineering firm.
What's kind of like the part of let's talk product, like, the actual engineering and like the future of where you guys are going. Like, what's the opportunity that you're most excited about right now?
We're looking at like a lot larger projects, like where our business started with residential projects, which was easy because the barrier to entry was lower, where you can just do a project in a day. Now we're like excited about doing like a 600-700 acre site where you go out there, it takes days to survey it. Then it takes days to like go through the data. Then you got to like
translate it
into something usable. Then it takes days to do the electrical. You got to do foundation designs. You got to do soil testing. You got to do like legal boundary survey testing. So, you're not going into an easement or into someone else's property or crossing a fence line or, so the projects are just way bigger, more to chew on. You have to think more. Like I said, our team's mostly engineers. So it's just more thought process, more engineering, like more problem solving. And then the project's just way bigger. So then you can look at it and be like, wow, that could power like a small town, not just like one house. So that's what's getting me pumped up at the moment.
That's really cool. Now it's probably cool knowing that you guys are contributing to like the future of electricity, right? Like you guys are on the forefront of providing electricity to people, around the world, right? I'm not just going to say Canadians, for example. Are you still doing business in Canada?
Yeah.
So it's
not much, but
not much. Mostly the States.
But
it's cool. Like you're powering North Americans. How many? I guess what's the measurement? Because I know from like a marketing standpoint, everybody's like, we powered this many homes or whatever, because everybody could wrap their head around homes. But earlier you were talking in a language called kilowatt hours, right? So how many? I guess like kilowatt hours of energy is that what you're tracking? Like, is that what you have your finger on the pulse on?
Kilowatt hours is sort of consumption of what you would use. So it would be like system sizes, like just straight kilowatts or megawatts, watts, I guess is the base unit. But every project's different. So we just did this calculation a couple of months ago. I think we've crossed over the 40,000 homes mark, so that we've put solar on 40,000 homes.
And how many watts is that? It changes based on the sun, right?
Well,
I guess
the system, usually a house, average size of a system on a house is like 5 or 6 kilowatts. So
what do you mean when you say the system size? Is that how much the house takes? Is that how much a solar panel?
That's the potential for that system
over what period of time?
In an hour. So a kilowatt hour is how much that system can produce in 1 hour. In optimal conditions. So like at the middle of the day on a sunny, perfect day,
sun's out.
That's what you can produce. Whereas, you're not you're producing 0 kilowatt hours at nighttime, right? So,
Yeah. And this is on like a residential roof, like a regular house. Okay.
So then you're getting into like 500-600 kilowatt systems on commercial roofs, and then like multi-megawatt sites.
So let's say it's a bluebird across the world. North America's bluebird, complete sun's out, no clouds, right? How much do you think the systems that you guys have created will, like, how many watts per hour do you think would aggregate across all the systems that you sold?
Man, that would be a wild guess, but I would think.
Listen, I'm not the megawatt police, okay? I'm not. This is just you. If you misquote how many watts per hour, I'm not coming after you, okay? I'm just curious.
I'd say somewhere between 500 megawatts to a gigawatt
per hour.
Yeah.
Holy smokes! How much is a gigawatt?
Gigawatt is
just sounds a lot,
1,000
megawatts,
kilowatts,
and
I think.
How much does a house on
a million
average?
watts? I think. No, 100 million.
Watts. 100 million watts.
Man, don't quote me on this, because
that's okay, dude. It's fine, dude. I'm just curious when the first time you did 100,000 watts in a day was, right?
Oh yeah.
Like that's a cool thought, right? It's like, wow, we do 100,000 megawatts an hour, for example. It's like I don't do 100,000 anything in an hour.
Yeah. Well, we're only one tiny piece of the pie, but it's pretty special to think 100%. Back after 9 years.
Yeah.
There's 40,000 homeowners that we've
powering
designed their solar system.
Wow.
Plus all the commercial ones on top of that. So
that's cool, man. And so traditionally the types of power were like nuclear and
well, in Canada there's a lot of hydropower.
Okay.
Niagara, like rivers and that sort of thing. In Australia there's a lot of coal, which is brutal.
Which is not good for the environment. Okay. Yeah.
So Canada's pretty good. Like hydropower is already a renewable source.
Okay.
Which is great.
Got it.
But yeah, nuclear, coal are the big ones. Yeah.
So what's the vision in now? We spoke about what the vision in the past was and like where it is that you're heading. In this current day, where is your head at around like growth, business ops?
Yeah. So at the moment we're focusing on expanding our technical services into those, like to do the bigger projects. So we've got an Ontario land surveyor, it's called an OLS. And that's like a really niche role. They are the only people in Ontario that can tell you what your property boundaries are.
Okay.
So we're getting into that.
Okay.
And it works well because we've got field technicians, we've got drafters. So now we've got like this expert that knows about boundaries, but we have all the other stuff already set up, so you can just build on that.
Yeah, it's like a power bar. You just plug it in and boom, just like that, it's going.
Exactly, just amplifies everything.
Yeah.
Wow. And then we're doing like foundation designs for large utility scale projects now.
And when you say foundation design, you're talking about the racking.
Yeah. So, so when you're doing it on a roof, there's racking that sits on the roof. But when you're doing it in a field, you got to dig down like 10, 20 feet, put a big concrete block in there or helical pile that drills in, or depends on the soil, if it's rock or it's clay or, mix of dirt or something else.
Holy smokes.
You got to, there's a whole thing like soil mechanical engineering that you analyze the soil for how strong it is and what you can do for a foundation. So we're just looking at all these sort of things. Like I said, we got smart people. They know how to do that for a roof. Now, how are we going to do that on the ground? And same thing with electrical stuff. Like you can look at a residential electrical panel.
Wow.
And that's like very basic. But then you go into Home Depot or Walmart or, they have all these fridges and all this. They got like a whole electrical room of like equipment. It's like, all right, we want to put a battery in here and we want to like power it with solar, but then we need it to be backed up. Like if the grid goes down, we want the batteries to kick in, and you pay different pricing for your electricity throughout the day. So between 5 and 7 p.m. it's more expensive because that's peak, and then weekends it's off peak. So if you can use your battery to supplement the peak times, you're paying less to the grid.
But that has to work, and you have to work.
Yeah, you have to engineer it to like kick in at the right time. So
what's like the coolest? I mean, everybody, if I asked everybody at the company, they would probably have a different coolest like technical element that they're like most fascinated by that the team has done. What would you say if you were to look back at all your projects? this one technical project that we did pushed our boundaries, grew us. I look back, it was the most, it's one of the ones that I'm most proud of. What was that project, and like what was it? What's so fascinating about it to you?
A lot of people who work for us now would probably laugh at this, but for me personally, it was like starting with the drones. It just opened up
everything,
whole world of possibilities, because you don't have to get up on the roof anymore. You're flying this drone, you think, great, like I got some nice photos from the air, but then when you figure that out, in like, you can convert these photos into like it's called an orthomosaic image, which is a scaled image. So you can click anywhere on the photo and measure from A to B and get that measurement within like an inch accuracy. You can like put the line on a chimney and just say, oh, that chimney's 4 foot tall.
Okay.
That, when we figured that out,
changed the game.
I was like, oh, we can survey like
the world.
20 houses a day. Like, you know, if you're up there with a ladder and a tape measure and a napkin, it takes you all day to measure one house. Now you can survey 10 in a day. Just fly the drone, and you don't have to get up on a ladder and like scare yourself, like thinking, am I going to fall down? Like, is it icy? Is it, any of this stuff? So that was like really early on. That was a big game changer for us. And everyone's using drones now, but that was like 9 years ago. So
pioneer.
I don't think there was many solar companies using drones for technical stuff. They may be using it to get like a nice photo of the system after it was installed, but that's just marketing. So
that's cool, man. That's really cool. What would you say was like the most difficult, chapter that you've gone through in building this thing?
There's a couple for sure. Like the Conservatives came in and scrapped the Ontario solar program, so that was scary.
Turned into one of the biggest opportunities, though, which is,
in the end, you don't see that in hindsight.
No, dude, it just looks friggin' scary at the time, right? It's like, oh my gosh, COVID, right?
COVID, COVID's another one. Like
but electricity probably spiked, right? Because everybody's home now, or
like, but no one was in the offices, so it's like, I don't really know, to be honest, how that worked, but it was just, we had an office at the time, and we had moved into our second office by that point.
Just so we were upsized, right? And you're like, oh my God, we have this big rent now.
Yeah. Well, we were in another bigger office again.
Yeah.
And so we got this rent. Everyone's like, you're not allowed to go out. No one wants to talk. Like, people are, getting home from the grocery store, wiping down their groceries with like Lysol wipes, because everyone thinks they're going to get infected with this thing. So no one wants to see anyone or touch anything.
Stupid.
And so like, no one wants a field technician coming into your house to survey it for solar.
Yeah, of course
so
not.
Like, everything just overnight just went gone. So we were like, we had to do like furloughs. Like, we were just like, guys, we're closing the office for indefinitely.
We don't know what's going on.
And we're sorry. Hopefully it picks back up.
Yeah.
We were already in the US at this point.
The
US, they were like,
screw COVID. It's not real.
They were way quicker on like hang on a minute, let's get back to work. So like, that got rolling way quicker than it did in Canada. So grateful for that.
I still don't even think it's back in Canada. I'm just playing. Yeah.
But so that, again, that was a blessing to be in the US already. But that was just scary for everyone. I remember doing that call with Jag one morning, just being like, literally every client has stopped all projects.
Yeah.
So we don't have any work coming in. And we can't just keep paying everyone, because we don't have
doesn't make any
millions
sense.
of dollars. Just we don't have any investors, right?
Yeah.
Everything's
bootstrapped, right?
Bootstrapped. Wow. Yeah, we've put back in. So
nice, man.
It'd be great if you could just pay everyone for an extra couple of months and they stay at home. But I would love to do that. But there goes all our 3 years of retained earnings that we're trying to build a company
and
with.
Everybody else is out of luck too now. Like, we can't continue. Damn, that's tough, man. So layoffs is probably like, is that the first time that you had to do like big layoffs? That must have been tough.
Yeah, to be fair, we brought most people back.
Okay.
So it was more like a 6 or 10 week sort of like
vacation.
Yeah, furlough, like just off without pay for now. But and then we started bringing them back gradually. Yeah. Not everyone came back, unfortunately, but that was just the reality.
Part of the game. People have to find stuff to do in the meantime, and if they get something good, like, why change it?
Yeah, there's no hard feelings.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do, and you build relationships with these people.
Yeah.
It's just
It's tough,
small
man.
business, it's hard. You're not just a number. You're
You're real.
a critical cog in the wheel.
Machine.
Yeah.
It's like nobody else does your role. Like you're the only person that does it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
And then we're going through that now. Like with interest rates, it's the sales have gone down.
Okay.
It's making us focus on this commercial stuff.
Okay.
And it's making us focus on what's profitable, like our structural and electrical engineering. So we've adapted this year to that, but unfortunately, had to downsize our team away from like basic design services, and that's been tough. It's
Can only imagine.
It affects the company culture. People lose friends and colleagues. It's change. People generally don't like change, 100%. So you have to. It's just communication, like just repeating the message and like over. Trying to get other people to see this is going to be an opportunity now.
Wow.
So that's challenging.
Wow. So as you enter this new, when you think about, okay, we want to focus on this commercial division, we want to grow this commercial side of the business, how does like Eddie's gears change? Like how does it, when all of a sudden the company focus changes to that, what does that mean on your day-to-day? Like, does that mean you're like, okay, coming up with this new sales strategy, coming up with this new pipeline idea, coming up with this new recruitment so that we can, bring on the team members to support this? Like when you make a big change like that, how does it shift on like your day-to-day?
My focus over the last few weeks or months has really been on people on the team and just over communicating.
Okay.
And like I sound like a broken record sometimes, and I've been trying to emphasize this with my team. I'm like, if you say it once and you think people have heard you, no way.
No.
You gotta, I think I read something somewhere, you gotta say the same message like 7-8 times before people are like, oh, we're actually focusing on commercial now. It's like, I said that 7 times already.
Yeah, I thought I sent that in the last update.
I sent that on email, I sent it on Slack, I sent it in the morning meeting, I sent it in the quarterly update.
Yeah.
It's still, you don't know what's going on in people's lives, and we all work remote. So, someone's got cat jumps up on their computer, or someone's kid's sick, or someone's just having a bad day.
Yeah, my email inbox is full, bro. I got 87 emails today. I don't know if this is important or not.
Yeah, so like you got to just keep saying it. So that's really where my focus has been, is just like communicating the new message. And I've reached out actually personally to everyone in our company.
Wow, that must have taken
the last
forever.
like couple of weeks, just been like, I'm sorry for the changes, but this opportunity and the change, and this is why we did it. And we did a company strategy update for the whole company.
Okay.
Showed like the numbers, financials,
Yeah.
just trying to give a bit of rationale, not just like, oh, we got sick of that, we're changing.
Yeah.
Try to make them see like what we see, and then keep working with our COOs and team leads to like continue filtering that message down.
So you're like this, pipe fitter turned world traveler, turned CEO, right? No, well, turned technical to drone pilot to CEO, you know what I mean? Of a 120 person shop. You went to school for engineering, didn't go to school for CEO. I don't even think they have a school for CEO. And so like, what do you do for learning? Like, well, I see you got a ton of books here, but I'm curious, like, where do you go for, like guidance? How do you sharpen your sword? Like, how do you get better at your thing, right now?
I do a lot of reading. So like my wife's always on my case about like, can you stop reading like Richard Branson or Elon Musk or Steve Jobs thing or whatever? But like those guys didn't go to school for CEO.
No.
So it's cool just hearing like how other people have become, and they're like the best of the best. So it's like, why wouldn't I just read something about these guys? And like, it's cool that they struggle too, and they like push through like so much challenge and hardship, and you just like, it just makes you realize, oh, it's not just me. Yeah, everyone's
going through shit.
People like love seeing the video of like Steve Jobs. Oh, I just launched this iPhone. It was amazing. It's like an overnight success, and it took him like 10-15 years to build that thing.
Yeah. And how many internal updates do you think you have to send to the team to let them know we're focusing on this new product?
Yeah. So I love like reading stuff like that. I listen to like the Tim Ferriss podcast. I don't know. He sort of interviews really successful people.
Yeah. There was one, so I watched an interview of him being interviewed. So someone interviewed him and they asked a really profound question, and I want to share this question with you, and I'd love to ask, and then I'll share, we'll kind of end on what his response was, because I think it would be a good like closing, but they asked, and it was Colin and Samir, the Colin and Samir show. I'm not sure if you heard of it. It's just another YouTubers, and they had Tim Ferriss on, and they asked Tim Ferriss, because he's the question guy, right? He's always asking questions. They go, what questions do you ask yourself? And I was like, that's deep, right? Because if you're like me, I ask people questions all the time. But it's like, what types of things do you question yourself with? So I'm curious, what types of...
It is a good question. I haven't seen that episode, but
I'll share it with you.
I think, please do. I think for me, I like when I get a chance to like step back and just say, am I being a good leader? Like, am I providing the things that my team needs from me right now?
Yeah.
And it just, sometimes you can get just busy with busy things, like just paying insurance bills and like
moving the couch and stuff, like
and you're like, oh, this isn't helping all these people. So it's like, how can I have the greatest positive impact on our team? And like, am I being a good leader? I think is, so I try to reflect on that sort of fairly frequently. And it changes, like, depending on what you're going through. Are you scaling up? Are you scaling down? Are you doing new services? Are you trying to increase sales right now? So
wow.
Sometimes I'm doing more sales one month, and then sometimes I'm doing way more HR one month.
And what is it, how are you working now? Like, what is it that you're doing now, and how can people kind of help and contribute? Like, what, you've been so gracious with your time to share your story, your experiences, what it was that you've been through. How can we share something with you? Like, how could we help, along your mission and journey?
Get some solar on your house.
There you go. You heard it here first. And sign up for some solar. Do it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you buy now, he'll throw in two. No, okay.
Yeah. Free batteries.
Yeah.
Double A's.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to power anything, but yeah.
No, we love seeing as much solar getting installed as possible. So.
Okay. And where can people learn a little bit more about Eddie, learn a little bit more about Exactus, and to see what's cooking up?
We're pretty active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Exactus Energy, or exactusenergy.com, our website. That's probably the two major places.
Okay.
If you're at a solar trade show, we frequent those pretty regularly too. So come say hello.
Good to know. So you heard it here first. Eddie Obeliunas. Now I'll share that one thing, the Tim Ferriss response with you before we close up. So when they asked, and it stuck with me, that's the only reason why I could recite it. They asked him, like, what questions do you ask yourself? And he said, it's like, we're all lions, right? Like, we're all hunting for stuff. Now, as a lion, you could fill up your belly a couple different ways. You could chase field mice, and you need 3 of those a day in order to stay fed, right? It's going to be hard to feed your family. I
did listen to this one.
Yeah.
But you're going to slowly starve to death.
Yeah. Or am I hunting gazelle? That could feed your family for a week. And so whenever he gets caught in the minutia, he always asks, am I chasing field mice or am I chasing gazelle? Am I chasing the thing that's going to change everything? Am I knocking over that lead domino that if I knock this over, everything else will fall into place? Or am I just getting caught chasing these things that keep me fed for now? And it's interesting when you mention the difference in residential versus commercial, because the residential is obviously smaller, right? Like a 600 acre, or a person who has multiple 600 acre plots, for example, a Walmart or a McDonald's that has roofs all over the world might be a different, it's not a field mice, that's for sure. But, Sally that owns your neighbor's house, that I'm not calling Sally a mice or anything, but she might be.
It's true. And it's, now that you mentioned that example, I did see that.
Yeah.
And, Jag is really, my business partner is really good at that. He's like, we got to focus on the big stuff.
Yeah.
On what's going to bring the whole company forward, not just like what's going to get us through today and tomorrow.
Cool, man. Well, shout out Jag. Maybe what would you say the best, one of the most remarkable things about Jag is, one of the most remarkable things about your business partner, or one of the most remarkable things that he's taught you?
He's an eternal optimist.
Okay.
So the sky is falling in. He's like, the sun's getting closer. It's great for solar.
Okay.
He's always looking on the positive side. So whenever things are going not so good, it's like, don't worry, we got this. We're going to crush it. That's it's an awesome trait to have in a business partner.
Beautiful. Well, shout out Jag, shout out Eddie, and shout out you for watching and listening wherever you're watching and listening on. But once again, I'm Javon.ca, the host of 100 Ways to Make 100K, and this is Eddie Obeliunas' way of making 100 grand a month. So once again, this is 100 Ways to Make 100K, the show where we're on a hunt to find 100 different ways to make 100 grand a month, and Eddie did it doing solar. So thank you so much for tuning in. You can find us on all your platforms. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the next episode. Peace.